Being a single mother is a science and an art, and I've always tried my best to be cautious and protective. So when I hired a new landscaper, I made sure to check his references first. Ralph seemed nice enough and did great work, and I really didn't think much of it when he asked me out for coffee one afternoon. I figured it was just a friendly gesture, and since I didn't have any pressing plans, I agreed. As we sat across from each other at a local cafe, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed his conversation. Ralph was charming and engaging, and he talked about his life with tons of passion. It felt good to be appreciated and listened to for a change. We spoke for hours, and by the end of our date, I was genuinely impressed with him. Weeks passed. Ralph and I continued to hang out, and everything seemed fine. And like any other day, my son Carlin talked to me about his day at school. Then he rushed off to chat with some friends online. I wasn't thrilled about him being on the computer so much, but he assured me he was just doing homework and talking with classmates. But one evening I noticed Carlin seemed unusually secretive about his online activities. It wasn't like him to be so guarded. I decided to go have a closer look, and I discovered that he had also been chatting with total strangers on a messaging site. My heart sank when I realized one of those strangers was none other than our new landscaper. I thoroughly checked their conversations and my fears were confirmed. Ralph had been asking Carlin personal questions about our home, our routines, and even about me. It was clear that he had been fishing for information, disguising it as casual conversation, and this had been happening for days before we had even met. I felt a cold wave of betrayal and rage wash over me. How could I have been so inattentive? I ignored his calls the next few days, and when Ralph finally showed up at my door, I fired him on the spot. I made it clear that he was never to come near our home again. I was devastated and concerned for our safety, and I decided to limit Carlin's online time and made sure he understood the dangers of talking to people he didn't know. A few days later, I was at home alone when I heard a knock at the door. I peered through the peephole and saw Ralph standing on my steps holding flowers. He had came back again unannounced, this time with a determined look on his face, and I could feel the panic beginning to surge through me. I quickly called my brother. He worked at a nearby hardware store and had always been protective over us. He arrived within minutes, though Ralph had already drove away. I explained the situation to my brother. His face hardened as he listened. He knew just how serious this was and he agreed to handle it. My brother went driving around looking for Ralph. It didn't take long before he found him. My brother's car screeched to a stop right next to Ralph. He jumped out of the vehicle without a word and he punched Ralph right in the face. Ralph was stunned, struggling to defend himself as my brother's fists flew relentlessly. They landed hard, eventually knocking Ralph off balance and leaving him on the ground. But despite the surprise assault, Ralph somehow found the strength to jump back up and make a run for it. He ducked another one of my brother's swings and stumbled away as fast as he could. My brother tried to chase him down, but Ralph managed to get far enough ahead to escape. My brother came back and told me what happened. He said to just call him again if anything else went wrong. I took a deep breath and closed the door behind me. The ordeal seemed to be over, but my feelings of violation and fear remained. I was relieved that my brother had been there to protect us, but I also knew I needed to be more vigilant about my son's online safety. But despite the unsettling experience, I was determined to move forward and make sure that Carlin and I would always be safe and secure.